Hey there, welcome to Bandit's Keep. I'm Daniel, and in this video we're going to create a spider lair adventure. Essentially, this is going to be a part of the mega dungeon we've been building. If you have been following that, I'll put some links and stuff in the description. One kind of branch or one way you could go off the mega dungeon or go in, depending on how you want to think about it, was through a lair that was occupied by orcs, and we built that up in the last couple videos that were adventure building. And of course, we have the level 1 of the mega dungeon built already. This is going to be another kind of branching path that goes through some tunnels that comes out into an old structure that has basically been long forgotten and is occupied by giant spiders, was my idea. Now, of course, that was my first idea, and we'll see where this builds. The idea here, though, is that we're giving us some variety. Remember that when you're, and I'm going to touch on this in a video, let me know in the comments below if you want a video like this. I think that it might be interesting. One of the complaints I hear about mega dungeons is that they are repetitive and boring. And I think part of the reason for that is that if our levels aren't interesting, and of course our first level that we built is very kind of trap-filled and magical, and we're going to build each level with its own theme, so that should help, right? But at the same time, if the adventurers just kind of go to town, spend their money, then come back with their gear and go down to the dungeon and come back out, then go spend their money, then go back, that can become a little repetitive. So it's nice to add on, and I normally do this when I'm DMing a mega dungeon, lots of little side quests and things they could be working on. Well, since we're building our mega dungeon from scratch, we can actually put these side quests and areas into our dungeon or related to it so that it will all work together. So that's kind of what this is, right? You could have something where this giant spider has been coming out and like stealing cattle or, you know, whatever it's been reported. So the party might actually enter in through this spider's lair another way and then find that it's connected to the mega dungeon later. Or they can stumble upon it from the mega dungeon, right? So lots of options here. Now, one thing I am doing different in this one, kind of, is I decided to go online and look for a map. I mentioned before, I usually just draw very simple maps. I'm not like a map maker, you know. I do love a beautiful map and when it's in a module or whatever. But usually I just draw something real simple. And one of the reasons for that is then I can make it exactly what I want it to be, right? I can adjust it and move it around based on my monsters. But you can also kind of do that if you start with the map. So I went online and I found this map here. Let me switch to this is by Dyson Logos. If you don't know Dyson Logos, I think it's just Dyson Logos. Yeah, it's DysonLogos.com. I'll put a link in the description to exactly the blog post that has this map. I guess this was inspired by something that Frank Menzer recommended and does, which is kind of the very basics, like a very, very basic dungeon map that can be used for a lot of things. So I'm going to start with this map. I'm going to go through it. There's a reason why I still have it on my iPad, is we're going to go through and we're going to modify it so it works for what we're going to do. So before we get too far into it though, let's get a general idea of how this dungeon is going to be stocked. That way we can figure out what we want to add and subtract from this. So let me just go to my screen here. Okay, so I'm looking in the basic book now. I'm in the B book of BX. Now, a lot of people watching this, I'm sure, are using OSE. And again, it's not really a problem. One of the things with OSE is that because it's combined, you don't necessarily always get the scope of what should be in a first level adventure. So like, I'm not busting out the expert book for monsters in this. Everything in this book should be fine for somebody from first to third level, which is what we're creating here. So they have 3 kinds of spiders here. But if I look through it, only the Black Widow spider has webs. And since webs was one of the things I wanted to use, I'm going to use the Black Widow spider. So that's kind of how I'm going to do this. And when we look at the Black Widow spider, we've got 1 to 3 appear both in a random encounter or in the lair. And, you know, they're pretty tough. They're only 3 hit dice, but they're saber type poison. So you can certainly create a situation where, because the party knows they're hunting the spiders, or maybe if they kill one of them, they can maybe go to an alchemist and like have antidotes and stuff made, because it doesn't instantly kill you. It kills you in a turn. So, you know, there's options here. So we're going to use our Black Widows. Come over here, more giant Black Widow spider. 3 of those. Oh, not Black Widow, Black Widow. And these spiders we're going to use 3 of these. And the treasure type is U. Again, that's going to be important because remember, I've talked about this before. We don't want to create a situation where, and I find this to be true of a lot of adventures that are made for the OSR, where, I don't know, in an attempt to be realistic or something, I've talked about this before in videos, they don't put enough treasure in there. and you can't level, and people take months and months and months to level of play. And the book suggests that the basic book suggests that you should be leveling about every 4 adventures. So, and yes, by adventure they mean session. If you look back on all that, if you put things in context, because I've heard that comment before, well, adventure could mean the whole module. They mean session. So if you're playing a 4-hour sessions, you probably should level up, and that's just about what it would cost to clear one of these things. But anyways, that's a whole other video. What I'm looking for now is there is, in fact, here it is, insect swarms. So there's also insect swarms as part of the basic monster book. And insect swarms, of course, can be whatever kind of insects you want. In my case, it's going to be spiders. These are, anywhere from 2 to 4 hit dice. They can be very, very deadly if not handled correctly. I hate to use that kind of word. I mean, it's very simple to deal with these, like by using smoke and stuff. But if you don't do that, they can really take out a first level party. So these insect swarms may, in some level, be more deadly than the spider itself. Now, the other thing I want to think of here is we've got this Black Widow spider here in this closed place that nobody ever enters. Like, what are they eating? What would be living in this dungeon that might be food for the spider, right? And when I see spiders around my house and stuff, they eat usually other insects. So I'm going to look for a couple of, I'm in the basic book now. I'm just going to go up here. I'm going to look for, I'm just going to start at the beginning. Probably not a carrion crawler. That's a whole other thing. Let's look at, we're going to start at the beginning. Let's just go through and look for any giant insects that might, or any kind of insects might work. Oh, bats might also be useful because this is going to have another way in and out. So I'm going to put bats here. And of course, giant bats, possibly. I might not use giant bats, but I'll put them down as an option. Let's see, bears. Oh, we have beetles. Okay, fire beetles are always fun, and fire beetles, of course, give you a nice thing, a nice little treasure that teaches kind of new players that you can harvest things from the monsters. So, let's see, fire beetles. And the reason why I'm doing this is I'm setting up, I don't want to say a realistic, but I'm setting up a bit of ecology. Because some of these things might end up just being on my wandering monsters list. The reason why I'm taking fire beetles is because I don't want everything in this thing to be like 3 hit dice and make a massive fight, right? You want some of the stuff to be, and remember, the spider's only 3 hit dice, so it's not going to be fighting 3 hit die beetles to eat. It's probably going to be going after things that are smaller than it. Giant centipedes. Those are always fun, and again, they're low, they're half hit die, right? So, let's see. One thing I'll tell you too, because I did a little quick search before I did this, is that the treasure type, see, again, driver ants. Driver ants are 4 hit dice. There's no way the spider's hunting those ants. So if I put ants there, it's going to become the ants lair. So I want all things that are weaker. So I decided that, that I was going to use these spiders, but then I started looking at the treasure types for them, which is not a very good treasure type. And this is not going to give us enough treasure for this part of the adventure to be good. So I decided what else would be in a place that's untouched for a long time that spiders wouldn't have eaten. And the answer to that is undead, right? And I think I'm going to use ghouls because ghouls are very, very interesting and deadly versus using, and plus they also have a better treasure type than a ghoul's lair is going to have, because remember we're in the lair, this is going to be also the ghoul's lair. 2 to 16 ghouls. Actually, it's just going to have 16 ghouls. I know somebody right now is going 16 ghouls, but you'll see. And the number appearing is 1 to 6. And the treasure type is, oh, no, looking at the wrong one. No, that's right. The treasure type is B. Cool. Now, let's see if there's anything else these guys. I mean, obviously there could be like small rats and stuff like that, but I'm looking at monsters. Now, normally in a dungeon like this, I'd use like oozes and I almost said ghouls. I am using ghouls. Oozes and like goops and green slime and stuff like that. But I'm already using that in the other part of the mega dungeon. Again, we're doing this for variety, so I kind of want this to be a little different. We got the insect swarms already. Killer bees. I mean, a bee could get caught in a spider's web, and they are relatively low hit die. But I'm not sure why the bees would be here. Let me see what it says about their lair. It doesn't say anything about the lair. So let's put them down with the question mark. They might be a wandering monster. Okay. So, and again, what I've got ghouls, I got undead, so I might want to have some things like living statues and things like that. And again, I'm just making myself some notes here, what I may or may not use. That's probably enough stuff, to be honest with you. So I'll just quickly go through this and make sure I'm not missing anything, so I have to go down here anyways. You know, we're not going to have, you could do a wandering party of adventurers, but again, I think I want this place to be slightly cut off. Robber flies would be, actually, robber flies make as much sense as the other. They're a little high hit die, though. I think I'll skip those for now. We do have rats, so I guess rats. I'm not going to have giant rats. I'm not a big giant rat person. You never know, though, right? I'm not sure that I could see even a giant spider catching a giant rat. Maybe, though. Depends on how big the giant rats are, I suppose. Snakes are also something that live in the dark and stuff, so snakes could be an option. Again, these could be possibly wandering monsters. And let's see. We got the spider giant already. None of these look good. Wolves obviously wouldn't be in there. Different molds and stuff. Again, I'm going to stay away from that for this. Now, I'm going to put a possibility of a white. And the reason why I do that is because the white is going to be different than a ghoul, and it's going to break things up if we're going to basically have ghouls be our monsters. We could also use skeletons if you want to go lower. Maybe I'll do that, or skeletons. Let's see how tough this is first. All right. Now, let's take a look at our treasure, because this is what we want to make sure, right? So we got spider treasure, and we've got the ghouls. All right, so we're going to look at the treasure charts here. We're in the treasure section. And the ghouls have treasure type B, and this giant black widow has treasure type U. You know, U is like coins, like barely anything. Yeah, I knew that because I looked at that earlier. Oh, I don't have dice. I'm going to grab my dice. I'm going to roll up some treasure here, and we'll talk about it. Okay, let's see what kind of treasure the spider has. 37 copper pieces. We've got these 3 really deadly spiders with 37 copper pieces. And if you think about it, that kind of makes sense because, again, this place is not trafficked by people. So why would they have coins and stuff, the spiders? They're only going to have, I'll probably actually make this an item. So just for whatever reason, it's in the spider's lair. If this was a spider that was in a dungeon with things coming in and out constantly, then yeah, it'd make more sense. But in this dungeon, it actually makes sense for them to have like no treasure. So the spiders are going to be almost like the red herring, right? Because people are they're going to come in here and sell these spider webs, and the party's going to be like spider webs. But the real treasure is going to be with the ghouls, hopefully. So let's see what the ghouls have. The ghouls have type B, which is a much better treasure type as far as chances. There's a 50% chance of copper. 88, no copper. There's a 25% chance of 1 to 6 silver. No silver. Oh man, the ghouls might not have anything in there. 25% of 1 to 4 electrums. There we go. How much was it? 1 to 4,000 electrum. Okay. All right, so there is electrum. Oh, 3,000 electrum pieces. An electrum piece is half a gold piece, basically. So that's 1,500 gold pieces. That's not terrible. That's 1,500 experience points, basically, right? Let's see. We've got type B. We have 25% gold, 1 to 3,000. That's good. Oh, 2. That's the second 2 I rolled. 1 to 3, so I'll roll a d6, obviously. I roll a 4, so that's 2. So 2,000 gold pieces. Now we're getting there. 25% for gems, 25% for jewelry. Any gems? 24. So there are gems. 1 to 6. I'll just roll that jewelry as well. 24. I rolled a 24 twice then. Okay, weird. But that's what I rolled. All right, so gems, 4 of them. Jewelries, 2. Okay. And finally for B, we've got 10% for a magic item. Now that 2 would look good. 7. Aha, there is a magic item. It is either a sword, armor, or weapon. So I'm going to roll a d6 and 1 to 2, sword, 5. So it's going to be a weapon. Cool. All right, so now this is pretty decent. Now, what you're supposed to do with this is if you do not use the full amount that's in the lair, then the amount is supposed to be divided by however many you use. So we'll look at this first, and then we'll decide if we're going to use all of it or not. I think we probably are, because I think I have a plan, and I will show you the map, and we'll talk about it now. So let's take a look at the map, and then we'll start placing our stuff. Boom. Okay, so again, this is by Dyson Logos. I'll put a link in the description if you guys want to get this map. I'm in Procreate because people ask me that. I'm on my iPad, basically. You're looking at my iPad. And I've created a layer above the one I'm on. So what I'm going to be able to do is kind of trace over this thing. So I'm going to use it as my inspiration, but I'm going to make some changes. So looking at this map, to me, this basically looks like, my understanding from the blog post is that you're meant to enter like over here, which is actually where we're going to enter from. But it looks like these are like big double doors right here. And I think that right there can be interesting, right? So what I imagine is that there's some kind of rubble that's blocking this area. It's probably got some gaps big enough that the spider can squeeze in and out. So maybe the spider does leave every once in a while. Maybe not. But in order for that to happen, one of these doors has to be damaged. So I'm going to have a damaged door, right? That way, when the party gets there, they'll see that there's easy egress. It's not going to be like closed doors or whatever. If I was running it the other way and they were coming from the other way, I might have the doors be closed, right? But I think in this case, they should be open. Because again, a spider is alive. It's going to want to come and go. So anyways, back to this. Looking at this, I'm just going to clear that stuff I just did there. Nope, not copy clear. All right. Because of how I drew it in the Mega Dungeon, I don't want it to be this like round area here that it opens with. Like that could be used for a ledge or whatever, but for my purposes, I want a long tunnel. So I'm just going to go like this, long tunnel. And what I want to do is I want to have rooms filled with spider webs. So I guess I'm going to use like this pinkish gray color for that. So I think right away we want to show that there's spider webs. I'll even have them out here. So we want these rooms to be filled with spider webs, especially these early on rooms. What I want to do is figure out like roughly where the spider is going to be occupying. And I'm going to kind of mark those areas up. What I'm going to do is, since we're going to have 3 spiders, I'm going to have a chance that there's a spider in each of these places every time somebody enters. Because we'll say the spiders are moving around, right? I put them on the random encounter list, and I will put a chance. So there'll be like a 1 in 3 chance that they'll encounter a spider in any of these spaces until they kill all 3 of them. Where I'll put the 37 copper piece thing, we'll see. So that's fine for now. The other thing I'm going to do, actually, I think I'll have this area also be spider webs and this area. So looking at this right away, I can see a couple things I want to modify or I want to mix up a little bit. I'm thinking that these areas down here, which I'll mark with G, are going to be where my ghouls are. Okay. So these are going to be like tombs. Because again, I'm imagining that before this thing collapsed, that this door over here, right, led to, it's the entrance. And this right here looks like some kind of like a temple, right? So we're going to say these are like knights or something that are buried here that became ghouls. So that being the case, I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, why would you be able to come in the back end of this one here? So I'm going to eliminate this whole space and just get rid of that, right? So that works better for me. The other thing I'm looking at that I'm not 100% sure I'm into is that there is a space on here that you cannot enter without going through secret doors. And sometimes I like that, sometimes I don't. It kind of depends. This area here, I'll block it out. I like that you need to go through a secret door to enter this space because it's behind the altar. Right? So that I'm keeping, but I'm talking about this area over here I might just get rid of. I don't know if it's necessary. We'll see, right? It does add a little bit of something, but only if the party finds it, and it's kind of in a spot where you just might not find it anyways. So, whatever, we can decide as we go. So I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep this secret area here, and of course, this area here. And all these, that whole area, right? I'm going to draw over it to make it a little neater. But let's talk for a second about these rooms. So if we have our ghouls here, and we have the number that needs to be in this space, 16, that's a lot of ghouls to have in 3 rooms. That means if we're dividing it up, we're talking about, 5-ish ghouls per room, and 5 ghouls is a lot of ghouls for a small party to fight. So I either need to figure out where else the ghouls could be, or I need to reduce the number. I could do one or the other. It really depends. If we cut the gold down, if we go, let's say 3 ghouls per room, so we've got 12. No, we got 9. That's a roughly half the number, and I can just cut the treasure in half. And I'll just do this. I think that's how I'm going to handle this. So let's go 3 ghouls per room. And let's go back to our treasure for a second. No, yeah, okay. If we just cut this in half, we're talking about 1,500 electrum pieces. And we're talking about 1,000 gold pieces. So that's 1,700 gold pieces. If we go, which doesn't seem like a lot, but if we go here to if we cut the gems in half and we cut the jewels, these could potentially be valuable. So let's see how valuable the gems and jewels are and decide if we want to put any more monsters here so we can have some more treasure. Because maybe I'll use that secret area. So let's roll our percentile on the gems. Now the other way that you could do this, 86, 500, okay, so there we go, that's not bad. The other way you could do this too is say, you could have left it 4 gems and then just cut the value in half once you rolled them, but I like to. Let's see. Okay, so that's 100 gold pieces. So we've got 600 gold pieces here. And then our jewelry, this could potentially be the big one. Remember, it's 3d6 times 100 for the value. 3, 5 is 8, and 4 is 12. So it's 1,200 gold pieces value. Okay, so if we look at the treasure that we're giving here, or potentially here, you're looking at 2,000, 3,000, 30, about 30, almost 4,000 gold pieces in this space, which is not terrible. It's not enough to level somebody up. So I think what we'll do in order to make this a little bit more, we'll say interesting, is let's go back and change that back. Let's use all the ghouls and let's make more rooms that have ghouls. So let's go back to our map and let's go like this. Boop. Let's get rid of this cross here and let's make this secret area more ghouls. But now why and how it's all secretive is the question, right? So let's change this so that it makes a little bit more sense to us. Number 1, I'm going to eliminate this secret door because that makes no sense to me. And I'll leave that one in the hallway because that is weirdly interesting. And I think what we'll do is we'll take the ghouls and we will, so if we're using 9 here, that leaves us with 7 ghouls, right? We're going to put 1 ghoul here and then 3 in each of these rooms. So basically 6 in this space, right? This is going to be like the better guard thing. And, like this is be like an, I shouldn't say better. This is going to be guarded by that 1 ghoul, right? So I'm going to make this a regular door because I feel like not having a regular door, that doesn't make sense. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so that, although, to be honest, you can't get to the... Okay, nope. Redoing this. Looking at the way the map is set up, I'm going to leave the secret door here. I'm going to make this a regular door. Right? Because now, if you come in from the front door, you've got to go down and split these corridors and come back up, and the tombs are in the back. But there are also secret passageways if you want. So I guess that's basically how we do that. All right, cool. That works for me. So we're going to have more ghouls there. So these are each going to have 4 in them. We're going to have them be locked and bolted closed or whatever, like sealed basically, so that unless the party wants to open all of them at once, which hopefully they don't, they're only ever going to have to face 4 ghouls at once, which seems a reasonable challenge, especially once they know there's ghouls there. They can kind of bring holy water. Again, these kind of dungeons are meant to be explored and then returned to. So they don't have to kill all these things in one setting. I know that with the Orc Lair, I got some comments like, that's for first level. It is because you don't go into there just once, right? You're going to go in multiple times. Because I don't like dungeons where, which I know this was mentioned actually in a comment. I forget who it was, so sorry. Where they said, oh, you can save time by just rolling up the treasure when you find it. But I don't like doing that because I like to place my treasure, right? I want to put it where it seems logical. I do not like the idea of fighting all the ways to the end of the dungeon and then getting all the treasure with the boss, you know? It gives players more choice if the treasure is scattered out, that they'll, do we want to keep going deeper to get more treasure, or do we want to leave with what we've got? If they've got nothing, then they've got nothing, right? So I'm rolling for the gems again. 90 is another 500, and 30 is a 50. And then 2 more jeweler, or 1 more jeweler, oops, that's the wrong one. Huh, too bad that wasn't for the gem, that would have been 1,000. Okay, 4, 5 is 9. Oh, and 6, so that's 1,500 for the other one. So these 2 pieces of jewelry are going to be valuable. Oh, I see how this works. It's weapons and armor on the same. All right, so I'm going to re-roll that. So it's sword, weapon, or armor. So I'm going to go 1 through 3, it's a sword. 4 through 6, it's weapon, armor. 1, so it's going to be a sword, actually. D8 for the sword. 4. Oh, wow. Okay, sword +1. +3 versus undead. Okay, so let's stock these rooms. My initial thought was to have this magic sword just be in G1 because my plan was to have just one ghoul in that room. But I think if I put it there, I mean, this is meta, but again, you want to think about this when your characters are coming in. Not everything needs to be random, right? If I put it in G1, then what's going to happen is the party is almost certainly going to enter through the mega dungeon, and they're going to battle probably most of, if not all, the ghouls before they find that sword, which is fine, but you kind of want them to have that magic sword versus undead if they can get it. So I think what I will do instead is I will put I will roll randomly to see where the sword is, and that way it's kind of fair. Again, normally I would place it because I think that makes the most sense, but I think that random could be interesting. I mean, who knows? Maybe it became magic over time by being in this tomb, so maybe it wasn't placed with like the main guard. So I'm going to roll a d6, and we'll see which room it's in. There are actually 6 schoolrooms. Oh. 3, okay. Oh, actually, that's pretty good. Okay, so it's going to be in room G3, which is, this one. And that's where the magic sword will be. Let me jump over to my treasure and distribution thing here, and let's see. Okay, so I already kind of started writing out this. So go with magic sword. Okay, so I'm going to roll randomly for each room to see how many ghouls are in there, and I'm going to do room 1 last, because actually I'm just going to put 1 in there, because there's not really any space for more than 1 ghoul. There's going to be 1 ghoul in that room. All the rest of them I'm going to roll randomly, see how many ghouls. So we'll start with a d6, and then we run out of ghouls because it's 16 total, then there'll be empty rooms. And there's supposed to be a total of 16 ghouls. I have 4, 8, 12, 15, 16. Okay, so I have 17 ghouls, so I have 1 more than I need. So I will just remove a ghoul from the last room and make it 3. And that's that. Now in the spider rooms, roll 1d6 on a result of 4 through 6, a giant spider is present until 3 have been slain. Okay, so what I've done here is I've got, just roughly, I've taken like a lighter color pencil, and I've kind of marked out the area where the spiders can essentially roam. Now they're going to hit doors where they can't go through. And the reason why I did this is because I'm going to essentially set up a wandering monster table for that area, things the spiders eat, basically. The ghouls are never going to leave where they're at until they're disturbed. So, and I don't think because they're in a sealed area, it's probably not going to have any wandering monsters in the ghoul area. So essentially the spiders, wherever the spiders can go, there's going to be a chance there's going to be some of these wandering monsters. So you can see here how I did that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to mark out the map. I'll come back and show you at the end. I'm just going to go over. And what we'll do is we'll draw out a section on the map where the spiders have access, essentially, and where they're going to be spider webs. In those areas, we're going to have wandering monsters that are going to be based on what the spider essentially eats, right? The ghouls area, the ghoul areas, which will be behind closed doors, will not have any wandering monsters. So now if we look at our list of monsters, we've got insect swarms. Actually, I'll do it this way. I mean, obviously, the giant spider is probably not eating the small spiders, but wandering monsters. Oops. Now you can do like a 2d6 list, so that like how you do the reaction rolls. It's that some things are more common. But I think in this, I don't really have a particular thing that I think is more common than others. So I'm just going to come up here and take all of these things that I thought might potentially be good. I'm going to move them down to here. And I'm going to then reassess them. Obviously not ghouls. Living statues are not wandering, so take those away as well. And nor are these. So let's see, how many things do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 things. I don't think a spider would necessarily eat a snake. So I could be wrong about that. Not that it has to be something they eat, but let's go like that. And let's say, you know what, to be honest, I'm putting snakes back. I think I'll add an area where there's bats, specifically bats, which is going to be at the very entrance, right? Because it makes more sense for the bats to be there. So again, we could make this so that one thing's more common than the other. I don't think that's really necessary here, but of course you definitely can do that. And you might notice too, I'm not like fully fleshing out these rooms with detail. I'll do that at some point. I'm working on getting these things like neatened up. At some point, I'll just make this available as a PDF with more like fluff and text in it. But I feel like that the building is the important part. You can fluff it and text it any way you want. What we want to do is have lots of kind of atmosphere and stuff in the different rooms, but that's all depends on your campaign, right? This is more like mechanical with this video. So let's take the rest of the treasure and divide it up quickly, and then we are actually going to be done with this part of it. So looking at it, I don't think G1 should have any treasure. It's just like it's out in the open. It's going to be just a ghoul standing there to kind of give you, that's going to telegraph that there are ghouls here, basically, right? We're going to have it so that when you go down to that corridor and you see that one ghoul and it attacks you and it paralyzes somebody, it's probably not going to kill, it probably is not going to kill the whole party, but the party will then know what a ghoul is and what they got to worry about. So no treasure with that guy. He's literally just there to scare you and to let you know what's going on. In rooms 2 and 3, they're kind of together. And the magic sword is there, which makes me think that those are maybe special ghouls. So I'm actually going to put the jewelry there, as well as some of the coinage. Let's see, there's 3 other rooms. I will put 500 gold pieces in this room. So this room's got a lot of stuff in it. I mean, this room's got 3,200 gold pieces plus a magic sword. That's a lot, between these 2 rooms. In this room, I'm going to divide the rest of it evenly. There's 1,500 gold pieces and 3,000. So I'm going to go 1,000 electrum and 500 gold pieces in each of these 2 rooms. And then what I'm going to do with the rest of it, even though it's not directly in the ghoul's lair itself, is I'm going to use, since I have 4 gems, I'm going to make them. I've got 2 secret doors that lead to the ghoul area. So I'm going to make both of those secret doors be blocked with, let me go back to the map so I can show you. Okay, so we've got a secret door here and here. Okay. Those secret doors are both going to lead to essentially the ghoul area. So I'm going to put a statue in front of each of those, and I will actually, I'm going to change this up a little bit. I rolled the gems, right? I rolled the gems, 4 gems, with the total value of 1,130. So instead of having them be 500, 500, 130, I'm going to make them all identical. And I'm going to just do the math. I'm going to say that that's 1,130 divided by 4. We'll just say 1,200 to make life easier. Divided by 4 means that the gems are going to be worth 300 apiece, right? So 300 each. So that's 1,200 gold pieces. I give them a little extra gold. And then what we'll have is these are going to be placed, statues, blocking entrance to ghoul rooms, have gems in eyes, for total 300 gold pieces each. And I think because you're violating the statue to go in there, any PC holding the gems will be targeted first by the ghouls. Okay. That way there's a little, instead of putting a trap there, which is the most common thing people do, you touch one of those gems, you're going to be targeted by the ghouls. Okay, so we're looking at this now. We've got essentially, a lot of this is the prep of figuring things out, but now we've got what is a workable dungeon. We've got 2 ways in, right? Oh, actually, I almost forgot. I'm going to put an area over here. Entrance. Let's put a big E there. That I'm going to, at the entrance, so let's go back to here so we can see what we got here. So at the entrance area, bats are going to be there. Okay, so, that'll be a little kind of a scary thing with his bats in the entrance. Maybe giant bats, if desired. Actually, I'll give a chance, right? Bats, bats, period, colon. 1 through 5, normal. 6, giant. Good. All right. That way we've got a little, some little option going on there. So let's review this this dungeon. Okay, so again, this map is from Dyson Logos. I will put a link in the description so you guys can get the actual map and read about the Frank Messer dungeon. But what I did was, for my sake, because I made a bunch of changes, or I wanted changes, is I went in here, and I'm just going to turn that off so you guys can see, and essentially resketched it. Now, what I've got here is I put a couple things in that we can take a look at here. Another layer here so you guys can see better. I'll point them out. So as noted, I have opened up all the areas that the spiders, could possibly dwell in. Took all the doors out basically from these areas, because that way the spiders can get what they need to get, including the exit. I've also filled in, it might be hard to see here, but I'll below it, maybe you can see better. Yeah, I've also kind of filled in areas where spider webs would be, right? So we've got the different spider web areas. As the party progresses towards the front and they get like out here, there's less to no spider webs, right? I've put statues in here, 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 and here, which basically are the ones with the gems in the eyes that guard the secret doors, right? That lead to the ghoul areas. And of course, I've marked everything. The entrance, I changed the door, so there's only one door there because we want that, right? And I marked the rooms as according. Now, here's the thing. I'm looking at the middle of this map and I'm like, there's a really cool temple-y type area here. And that's fantastic. But I don't necessarily want to use that at this exact moment. I thought about putting like a higher end undead in there, like wights or something. But if I do that, there's a very good chance that the party might just go in there first and get a bunch of level drains and die, right? So we won't really want to do that. Because again, this is first or third level. Not that you can't put like one white in there, but then I calculated out like the gold and it just wasn't worth it. Like it just would have been a big, huge fight for like a little bit of gold if there was just like one white. So what I have decided is this, and you see this a lot in older dungeon maps. I'm going to put collapsed, making virtually impassable, and I'll have a tumble over into here, these areas. And also this interior part if they find that secret door. Which makes this something they will not be able to explore right away unless they leave and get a crew and come back. And of course, that's going to require gold and probably levels before they do that, right? At that point, I can then figure out what I want to put there. I might use that map that's there already and put something maybe from the expert book in there if they're up high enough level, like maybe like, I don't know, a vampire or something that might have like a lot of treasure. Or I might just have it go somewhere else, right? But this way, by having these collapsed tunnels, it adds that sense of decay and also like future possible progress. When the players get to those areas, if they look, you can literally say, it'll probably take a few hundred man hours to dig that out. So do they want to sit there for a few hundred man hours? Probably not. So I think that, at first and second level, that's a higher level thing that they can do. And that's fine. And again, if it takes the slightly step out of character for a second to say as the DM, this is definitely areas you can progress later, but it will require you to spend thousands of gold pieces to hire people to come in here and dig this out. It's going to take time. So it's probably not something that you're going to be able to do immediately. Right. And in fact, if they forget about it because they don't do it immediately, you can then put a story hook later on where some, mage or whatever in town is like, oh, we heard that you cleared out this area where the spiders were, and there was a temple there, and if we could find the golden chalice, it's there, blah, blah, and then that might actually lead them into another adventure. So that kind of goes into something I'm going to talk about soon, which is the idea of setting up the outside of the mega dungeon, the world of it. Because right now we've got, effectively, I'm going to add some flavor and stuff, but right now we've effectively got an area with undead and spiders that can be entered in either from the outside world or from the mega dungeon itself. You see me better? We've got a orc lair, which again can be entered into multiple ways, can be dealt with or not. It could be its own set of adventures. And then we've got the main mega dungeon with the first level mapped out. Another thing we might want to consider here is, especially in the spider area, there's going to be a lot of empty space, right? Because we want to have this like creepy feeling of spiders, whatever. We will decorate that in a sense with stuff that has no value. So like it might be like, again, we found that 37 copper pieces is all that's back there. I'm not going to stick the ghoul's treasure back there because the ghoul's treasure is going to be buried with them. So you got to put something in there. I mean, you can do empty room treasure, but I think what I'll probably end up doing, and maybe it'll have some value if people really want to scrap for it, is in those places that are rooms that seem like they're rooms, I'll put things like braziers and tapestries and benches of wood that have long since degraded and have just become junk, right? Rats have eaten through all the tapestries. The braziers, they were brass, but they're all kind of beat up and corroded, and the charcoal was left in them, so the bottoms fell out. So it has a sense of decay and falling apart, and that way we don't have this issue where it's like, well, because that whole first part, if they come in through where the spiders is, there's gonna be like no treasure. So that's kind of a bummer. But at the same time, it doesn't make sense to just shove treasure in there too much. So I think what I'll do is I'll go in and roll for each of those rooms, and then I will add, if I roll up any treasure, I will add that treasure to the room. I mean, in fact, the normal process for BX, right, when you're doing this is to roll, if it's an empty room, you roll a D6, and if it's a 6, there's some treasure. So there's effectively 6 empty rooms, so I will roll 66, and if I get a 6 anywhere, then I will place some copper or whatever I roll on there in those rooms. And that's how we'll do it. Okay, well, it looks like rooms S4 and S6 have treasure. So if we look over here, I've got the unguarded treasure. We're on level 1. So 1d6 times 100 silver in the first room, 100 silver, and then there's a 50% chance, 41, that there is 1d6 times 10 gold. 1, okay, so that's 100 silver pieces, 10 gold pieces, and then there is a 5% chance of gems. Nope. And 2% chance of jewelry. Nope, I rolled a 3. And 2% chance of any one magic item. 31. Okay, so you got 100 silver pieces, 10 gold pieces. Again, I'm not going to have them be coins because that doesn't make any sense. I'll make them be items. That's in room S4, which is kind of that, go back to the iPad for a second. That's the, this area right here. So what I'll do there is I will, put like a small statue, or maybe one of the braziers won't be burnt out. So some item of, again, tapestry, something like that. And now for 6, let's roll on that one. Let's go back here. Again, we got D6 times 100 silver. Oh, 6 that time. So room 6 has 600 silver pieces. Again, it's going to be an item worth 600 silver pieces. And then we'll roll again. 50% chance of gold. No gold with 58. 5% chance of gems. Nope, 38. 2% chance of jewelry. Nope, 95, way off that time. 2% chance of a magic item. Oh, 1. There's a magic item in this room, S6, for whatever reason. Let's see what it is. What's great about this is that it kind of creates like this, something you didn't expect. And again, you don't have to take the rolls, but if you decide to roll, take it. Why not? I'm not going to turn around last minute and be like, oh no, they don't deserve to have a magic item, or there shouldn't be. We can figure out why it's a magic item. So I'm going to roll percentile. 26. 26 is a weapon or armor. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, D8. 7. Oh, wow. Sword +2. That's interesting. Very cool. So now we're looking at, as they're exploring areas, the spider area, we'll call it, there is potential for them to run into a little bit of treasure. I mean, the total experience points they're going to get from that area is like minuscule 60, 70 experience points if they get everything out of it. But if they get that +2 sword, that's a major magic item. So that's pretty cool. And that was because I just decided last minute that I should probably roll since the rooms are empty. So again, keep that in mind. I'm not going to roll for the empty rooms in the ghoul area because there's only 1. I guess I'll roll it. What the heck, guys? 2. No, there's nothing there. Okay, so there's really only 1 empty room there, and I didn't roll for it because, empty room has nothing. So yeah, we'll figure out how this +2 sword is somehow in this area. And if the party lucks out, they might actually be able to go in there, get the sword, and never see a spider, depending on what they roll. So that's kind of part of the game, right? I think on level 2, we're gonna, maybe I'll put a poll up to see what people want to see for that theme, because we did traps and weirdness on the first level. Maybe we'll do something different on the next level. We want to make it progressively more difficult, obviously, because it's a second level dungeon, and we'll see how it will work out with like the amount of treasure that we give, right? Because again, we want people to be able to level up. And now you've got second level characters, so you're going to, the challenges can be greater, the treasure can be greater, and so can the temptation to go deeper, which is, of course, what the Mega Dungeon draws you on. So, in any case, if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, please. Oh, also, if you haven't, if you would be so kind as to share the videos around on any forums and stuff you're part of. I know I'm part of a few things, and whenever I post videos there, we get more views, so it's always nice if you're part of some kind of a group that might be interested in this kind of video. Please share it, and so other people can enjoy it. And because we are creeping up on 3,000 subscribers, which is really great. So I really appreciate it, guys. Go ahead and ring the bell if you haven't already for notifications, and I'll see you next time.